40 days of Greetings, Tab family. Hello, hello, and hello. Today is Ash Wednesday and the start of our Lent fast, and we have some amazing guests on tonight's show. And we are so excited just to talk, just have a little dialogue and see, how the fast is going for you. I know it's day one, so it's everyone's first day. And for those that are like, oh, I didn't know or I forgot, that's okay because you can still text Lent to. So text Lent. I'm gonna need you to go ahead and get your phone out and text Lent 2026 to 706-995-7044. And make sure every morning you're going to get reminders for our prayer call that is still going on. And listen, the prayer calls have not stopped because this morning we had the Reverend Michael Woods on there. And if you missed it, my goodness, it was a treat. It was a treat. So, Reverend Woods, Reverend Bryant, how has today been for you?
Well, I say for me, hey, Tap fam and friends, it's good to be on. The day has just been it's been full. It's been awesome. We started again at 6 a.m. as you mentioned, with our prayer call and devotion. Excited that we have a lot of men who are going to be sharing in our prayer and devotional this month for the next 40 days, and excited about that. And then we had our noonday Lent service where Trey McLaughlin and the praise team did a wonderful job of leading us into worship prior to the fasting service portion of it. And it was just really amazing. The worship experience is always awesome at our noonday service for Lent. And it was just really, they did a beautiful job. And we really allowed us to flow into the presence of God. And then beautiful homily from our senior pastor out of the book of Matthew concerning fasting, and the word of God just really was just impactful. And we appreciate him. And then, of course, the minister shared with our ASH services, placing on the forehead. As you can see, those of us who were there, we still have that on this evening. And then, of course, we had drive-through services for our persons in the community who did a drive-through ASH placement upon the head in prayer at both of our campuses from 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. So just really just a full day, but a beautiful day in honoring God and reminding us of our humanity before an infinite God. And so we're humbled, and it's been an humbling experience, but it's been an awesome experience as well.
Absolutely. Reverend Bryant?
Yes, I'll just say ditto to Woods. No, I'm just playing. Ditto to what he said.
I mean, he did a great explanation. Let's be clear. I was like,
Absolutely.
You should have did the intro.
But coming in on this first day of the fast, because as you know, we started with a fast at the beginning of the year, and then we had about 18 or so days where we were, not fasting per se as a church family. And so coming back into a fast, I'm excited. I'm truly excited because, when we were fasting this time last year, over our 40 days of decrease, if you recall, that fast opened up with Lent as a project. And that one was so impactful. It's one of those things where you revisit, especially when you're starting a new fast, because we want to make sure that as we're fasting, for me, I want to make sure I'm fasting with intentionality, not doing it as the project. I want to have an experience with God. And so before the 6 a.m. prayer call, I'm going to have my devotion, my worship, my quiet time, whatever it is that I feel that I need. And then as I journey through the day, just looking for those moments where I can truly draw away, pray, whatever it may be. So first day of the fast, good.
Awesome, awesome. So this year's theme is every choice is a seed. And this week, choose to plant well. This morning, Reverend Wood started us off this morning with the devotion. So one of the things when I enter a fast, I always want to make sure that I give up something that, and I'm not going to say it's hard, but something that is not always necessary for me to still have. Like you said, Reverend Brian, being intentional about what I plan to give up so that it's not looked at more so as a punishment. That was something that over the years in fasting and getting that discipline, it kind of felt like I was punishing myself. But once I started to be very intentional about what I was taking out and what I was adding, it was a balance of honestly creating a balance of my life and being intentional, spending time with God and being intentional on what I was putting to the side. So I had to look at it differently. So choosing to plant well, what does that mean to you all when you hear that phrase, when you're choosing to plant or choose to plant well?
When I think about that, choosing to plant well, as we were talking a little bit earlier, where we're talking about every choice that we make has consequences. And I don't think that that's something that we think about. The very first time I heard that phrase, it made me think back to, a choice that I may have made at 20, where I'm reaping the consequences, be it good or bad now. And so I've always been one of those people who kind of flies by the seat of my pants, if it feels good in the moment, like let's roll with it. But now, in this ripe old age that I'm at now, there definitely has to be intentionality in the things that I do. I have to think about things versus just flying pure emotion, because emotion will lead you down a path that, may not be where you want to go. And so choosing to plant well means sitting with decisions, sitting with choices before reacting sometimes, and that could just be speaking, that could be making a move in some way, or just making sure that you're hearing God clearly and that it's not something that I want versus what God may be trying to guide me to.
Mm-hmm. Reverend Woods?
Yeah, yeah, I think you're right. It's fasting and planning well through that process is intentionality. Um, you are right, Reverend Brian. Every choice we make, good, bad, or indifferent, has consequences. Um, the Bible talks about that every seed that is planted takes after its own kind. Um, if you don't want to reap a certain type of a harvest, be careful of the seeds that you plant mentally, emotionally, right? Physically, things we speak out of our mouths, things that we see, focus vision on, things that we hear and our hearing. Those are all seeds that get planted. So we want to plant well, as we were talking about this morning. And each of us have to make a choice about what we're going to choose. Now, this morning, speaking of, it came out of Joshua 24, where they had come to this place, had crossed over. Joshua was kind of at the end of his life, and he asked this proverbial question. You got to choose who you're going to choose, right? You got to choose God, your father's worship back behind you, or this God that has you now in the land of the Amorites, that's fulfilling his promise in your life. And I think one of the questions we all have to ask that I posed this morning was, are we going to serve what is behind us, or are we going to serve what is in front of us? And serving is related to that seed plan that you're talking about, Kim, where we're talking about what seeds are we going to plant based upon the expectation that God has for us. And, looking for what is in front of us has to be very intentional, because the familiarity is what is behind us. So just like Lot's wife did in the book of Genesis, it's easy for us to turn backwards, right? To look what's behind. That's familiarity. And that's an easy thing to do. It's hard to stay focused on what is in front of us. But those are the things that we invest in, seed plant in, take care of that seed, nurture that seed so that it can grow and come to fruition for whatever we believe in God for. So I do agree with Reverend Bryant. It's very seed planting and fasting toward that is very intentional.
Absolutely.
And
So-
Reverend Woods, when you were speaking this morning and you were talking about the worshiping what's behind us, when you use the word worshiping, like that hit different, because when we think about as we're looking forward, because a lot of times when we're looking forward, we don't know. We don't have the blueprint. We don't know what is to come. And so when we get stuck with what's behind us, that familiarity that you're talking about, it makes us complacent. And that's not where we ever want to be. And I never thought about it as worshiping something, worshiping complacency, worshiping comfortability, when realistically we know that sometimes you've got to stretch, you've got to move, even if you don't know what's to be. And so that was just powerful to me. Words they mean so much. And so I just want to thank you for that publicly here.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that one of the things that worship is about worth, right? That's where the word comes from. Like, it's what we value. It's what we put value in. We worth it. It's what is this worth to us, right? And the exercising of that worth is what we call worship, right? It's worth, it's value, and how we exercise that out is called worship. That becomes our focus. And you said it right? And we have a tendency, I will say, we have to be very careful, because that familiarity can be an enemy to success, right? Mm-hmm. So if you take that and put it toward what we're talking about, be careful about the familiarity that is behind you. That can be an enemy to what is in front of you. Your success is in front of you. Paul says in 2 Corinthians that if we're going to be a new creature, a new creation, right? That the old things, right, have passed away, and behold, all things become new. That phrase, all things become new, comes from the picture of that you're not new, but the state of being that you're in is new, right? That someone sees you and they go, oh, I know you. That's Michael Woods, right? That's Reverend Takia Bryant. That's Kim Howard. But you're different. What they're identifying in you is that thing that God has made new in you. And I will say this to you, that looking forward into the unfamiliar can be scary. Mm-hmm. Because we're going to become something that we have not been before. And we lose the familiarity of who we are. And discovering who we are new in God can be challenging. And many people are afraid to embrace that, which is why Pastor Goodman always says, be careful about asking God in prayer for what you need to do, like through giving or through service, right? Because God will push you further than what you might expect that you might want to go.
Absolutely.
And so we have to be very careful of that, because unfamiliarity is uncomfortable.
Yeah.
And so fasting and praying during this next 40 days and asking God to make me different, make me new. Be careful, because you literally will become something, as Paul illustrated, that never existed before. So you are unfamiliar now with this new you, right? And other people will be unfamiliar with that. And we oftentimes, fear sets in, as we were talking about this morning, and we have a tendency to fall back or to what we call backslide in the church, right? You go fall back to what is familiar and comfortable, and then you say, you know what, I'm good. And that's not ever a place to be, because complacency sets in.
That's right.
And being comfortable, it's interesting that you say that because we were talking last night in another group. A lot of times when we get comfortable, when I get comfortable in certain spaces and settings, and then God shifts me or I'm moving into something new, now it's a sense of being vulnerable. So in my worship, at times, it's this constant stripping. And I'm like, hold on, I'm trying to hold on to stuff. But at the same time, God is like, release it. So it's the fear that sets in because I don't want to be vulnerable. And why would I not want to be vulnerable with the God who created me? But at the same time, it's me being vulnerable and open to myself in the process of everything going on. I kind of get fearful and I'm like, hold on, this is new. He's pushing me, he's challenging me. So I will say, and I've said this before, when you are fasting, doing it with a community, doing it with an accountability partner that's going to encourage you along the way and remind you in those weak moments that you don't need X, Y, and Z. And that's able to, hey, were you on the call this morning? Hey, don't forget, because, in the hustle and bustle of life, we get caught up in adding things to our plate, that having that community, having that accountability partner to help remind you in those moments has made a world of difference for me personally.
I totally agree with that. Yeah, the community is so key because, in those moments where you may feel weak, where you may feel like something is about to break, something is about to shift, or you just feel like I can't do this, I don't want to do this, having somebody that you can text and you just have to say pray. You could just send praying hands and that you've got somebody there who's going to cover you, somebody who will drive over to your house if need be and sit with you. This is definitely something that you, if you don't have to do it alone, you shouldn't. Community is so key in things like this.
Absolutely. So what are some of the things that you guys, oh, go ahead, Reverend Woods.
No, I'm just going to kind of close it out by just simply saying that, if you go to Deuteronomy in chapter 4, the prophet talks about how you just talking about community, right, to kind of get us through to the next spaces and levels that. But also, it's encouraging to know that even if you're still trying to gather your community to kind of push you through and help lead you through and walk the journey with you, I love this because, God is always very present with us, right? And he says that, I call heaven and earth, as witnesses against you that I have set before you life and death. And then he says, choose life. Earth, I've called heaven and earth against you because God has given us all that we need in this earth to succeed. We have no excuse not to keep pushing forward, right? And thank God for grace and mercy that when we do slip back to familiarity, we have opportunity to start over, right? But he's given us everything in the earth. And then he says, I call heaven because there is a supernatural aspect to moving forward, right? An internal spiritual strength by God's presence and his Holy Spirit that guides and leads us into the things we do and make all things that are not as though they are in our lives to continue to encourage us to move forward. So it's not just the people around us, God, right? But God has this, and he's called heaven and earth as witnesses that he has given us the command, if you will, to move forward with life and not death. And so that should be encouraging to know that God's expectations. Jeremiah said that I know the thoughts I have toward you, right? Says the Lord. And so he wants us to have a prosperous life and to move forward. But that means forsaking some things that will prevent us from moving forward.
That's right.
So what are some of the things that you guys have given up in the past when you were fasting, or what are you focusing on for this fast, if you want to share? Because it could be, personal, because, fasting, it changes your heart, not just your habit. So if it's something, that's personal to you, you don't want to share that, by all means. If it's something in the past that you have fasted from and what discipline it created for you.
So for me, I am giving up fried foods and sweets, and I'm also giving up television, streaming. Let me say streaming because I don't turn on my TV, but I can stream on my computer all day long. So I'm giving up streaming throughout the week because I can literally sit and watch the same show over and over and over again to the point where I can repeat it. And that is time that I could be spending working on something, writing in my journal, working on a Bible study, spending time with family. You know, some of those things that I may tend to, let me use our statements, that I may tend to neglect. Um, and I'm also intentional about my morning time as well. I'm getting out. My dog and I are walking early in the morning and really just appreciating nature, the air, the crispness of the cool air, you know, and being more intentional of taking in God's creation. Because, you know, so many times I can take things for granted. I just drive and don't pay attention to
Right.
things. And now I'm seeing things I never saw before. I did not know my neighbor had a red door on his house, and I've lived next door to him for 7 years.
See how fast it brings clarity. Also, you see things so much clearer now because you didn't remove them.
Please don't tell your neighbor that.
No, please don't tell your neighbor that. 7 years,
Oh,
that door has been red.
Yeah, please don't tell you.
He
Don't
might
say
have
don't
just
say that
painted
to your
it
neighbor.
last week. Maybe that's
I
what
don't
it
think
was.
so. I don't think so. I don't think so.
Yeah.
No. I
Um,
have decided to give up or replace, and I did this a couple of times before, but for this year, I'm minusing saying yes to a lot of things,
Mm,
and I'm adding saying no. I am I can multitask and do multiple things. However, I have realized that, especially when it comes to family, I have been yes, 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 yes a lot, and it has stretched me thin. And I was like, okay, I gotta start saying no sometimes. And it's okay to say no and say no without an explanation because I felt like I had to always kind of explain myself. And just in life, I would say, yes, I could do that. Yes. And I'll do it. But then in the back end, I'm like, hold on, I was supposed to be doing something else. Let me get back to, being disciplined in making sure I am using the time that God has given me correctly and using it to be productive. I have started, when we started the fast at the beginning of the year, I have been an early morning person and I'm not a morning person at all, but after the 6 o'clock prayer call, I will get up and start my day. And that has allowed me to go to sleep earlier because I've accomplished so much
yeah.
in those quiet hours. I've had my quiet time with the Lord, and then I'll have a little cup of tea. I'll go sit outside. I would say a little old lady, and I like it. I'm a little old lady
Yeah.
rocking in the chair on the front porch
Yes.
and watching the kids and the buses go by. But I was like, why haven't I been getting up this early in the morning instead of sleeping in? But I have started that routine and it's become so natural. And I honestly feel like in the quietness of the
Yeah.
morning, I've heard God more.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, for me, it's in the past, it's been some of the traditional things, right? It's been foods, been meats, it's been certain things like that, sweets, things, like that. I've had over my life a pretty balanced life and discipline when it comes to food and eating, so that hasn't necessarily been an issue for me. I will tell you that this year, and I'll be transparent, because I believe that a part of fasting, when you're challenged with the context of your fasting, is accountability. So for those who are watching, for those who won't hear, for those who will see this, this is my accountability piece. Is I'm fasting. I've had a challenge over the years because I was a pastor. 43 years of ministry, you have a tendency to lean on being passive aggressive, right? And so what I'm giving up is a lot of the passiveness in behaviors that allow me not to necessarily feel complete when I'm either doing my work or entering life's relationships and challenges with people and things like that. So I can take more control, if you will, if that's such a thing as taking control of your life, but lean more on the aggressive side in a very positive way. So releasing some old ways and tendencies, behaviors that have led me to regret some decisions and regret maybe not standing up for myself in certain ways because I lean more toward caring for people a little bit too much more than I would caring for people in healthier ways. And so what I am embracing in front of me is intentionality for life and living. Going through my own journey of divorce and cancer diagnosis. I'm just now starting to speak that out of my mouth for the last 30 days or so. Is now teaching me the value of life, that every step I make, it matters. And I should be a lot more intentional about what is in front of me versus what is in my rearview mirror, and being very intentional of keeping what's in my rearview mirror in my rearview mirror, and then adjusting my sight to what is in front of me and being very, very intentional about what's in front of me. So this 40 days, I will fast from meats for 40 days. I may have to do something different because I'm due to be in Arkansas this weekend, and my sister makes the best fried chicken. But we're gonna see how that goes. I may throw a salad in there with
just freeze it. Just go on, freeze it and bring it. I'm not fasting for meats, okay? So I applaud you that you are able to have your discipline with them.
You can't. I don't know if I may try to freeze it, but I probably pull it out before it even gets cold. So yeah, my sister's but she is gonna throw a salad in, I think. So I'll probably have a salad with it, but for me, it's the meat piece, and then so I can focus on what's in front of me, because I think that embracing intentionality for me over the next 40 days is going to be, I believe, set the trajectory for what I'm going to be trying to do when it comes to what I want to do for the rest of my life. Amen. And that's going to be very intentional. Now, I will admit too, I'm 63. And so there are a lot of behaviors that have become kind of staple in my life. And that's why fasting, Jesus says, there's some things that don't come out of your life, right? Except through fasting and praying. And I'm really hoping and believing that this new person that I am choosing, right, to be, is not only going to be pleasing to God, but it's going to edify my own life and those who are in my circle, so that I can be better than today, tomorrow, than who I am today and yesterday.
You know what? The word that has been consistently talked about tonight has been intentional. And when you were talking, Riverwood, something hit me. And I was like, when I said I was saying yes and no to certain things, being intentional about my time. I was like, okay, let me look at this differently. Not just saying yes just because it's a yes, but being intentional about saying yes and what that yes is tied to. So it kind of made me, I was like, hold on, okay, let me rethink this thing through, because let me be intentional about my yeses and my nos. That's going to make a world of a difference, being intentional about what I allow to fill my time with, and not just saying no just because I'm learning this new word that I rarely say. No, let me, be intentional about my yeses and my nos. I appreciate
and that's what we say, right? No is a complete sentence, right? And I think I'm learning, Reverend Boatwright is teaching me this thing about offense, right? And going through this fasting piece is knowing who you are, so that your no's can be no's, but it's coming from a really solid place, right? You're not being mean, you're not being arrogant, you're not being prideful, boastful. You just simply is coming from a good, solid place in your life, which you have to know to set a trajectory for your life. You have to know where you're going, so that if you're not supposed to turn right or left, then you say no and you keep straight, right? And I think that's intentionality, Kim, and you're right. And I think that's purpose. And I think that when we do that, God is pleased with our yeses, and He's pleased with His promises are yeah and nay, and so ours should be. Our worship should be our worship should be yeah and nay. And so I think the fasting helps you to define with clarity the purpose and will of God for your life. Absolutely. Right? I think that all of us should have core values that set the standard for our life and living. And you can only get that from God for the direction He wants you to go in, so that you don't have to worry about comparing yourself to others. Fasting, I believe, also helps you to self-identify with who you are, who God wants you to be. This life is yours as well, individually and collectively, but it has to be yours individually first before it can be collective. And so you have to be an individual before you can be part of a group, because if you're not careful, if you're not solid in who you are, when you become a part of the collective, when you become a part of the group, you have a tendency to lose who you are. And fasting helps you to identify that and touch God in a way that he can say, this is who I've not only chosen you to be, but this is how I've chosen you to be. It's who I've chosen you to be, and it's how I have chosen you to be. My dad used to say that how you get to where you're going is just as important as getting to where you're going, because the how is going to define who you are and your reputation. And you want to be sure to maintain who you are on this journey that we call life. So when you look back, you can see some favorable moments and journeys.
That's so good what you were saying, Reverend Woods. And as you were talking, a full transparency moment, after we finished our Fresh Start fast, I had to continue and do a separate fast of my own because, to your point, I felt as if I was losing who I was. I felt myself shrinking into somebody that I didn't recognize. And so I really had to go into an intentional fast and had to really lean into God so that I could come back to who I know He called me to be, to the name that He gave me, to, who He has purposed me to be, to the calling that was on my life. And so, as we said, some things only come through prayer and fasting. And had I not fasted, who knows where I'd be? I might still be in this woe is me state, walking around like I'm not quite sure, kind of drifting here and there. And so, as we're in this fast, it's just a continuation, so that I can make sure that I am walking in the fulfillment of, everything that God has put in me.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation. And I hope that it has been helpful to everyone that has joined. For those that are going to see it, we hope that you join our -1+1 fast, because it's never too late. It's never too late. And if you get off the horse, get right on back on it, because God honors your consistency. He grants us the grace to start over again. So make sure for the daily devotionals that you text Lent 2026 to 706-995-7044. Our dial-in prayer call number every morning. Please make sure you jump on there, because listen, it's absolutely amazing. 667-930-8560 in the access code 604-3130. What I did for the last, I just saved it. The number, it's a contact in my phone, so that I don't have to worry about it in the wee hour of the morning looking for it. I saved it as a contact because, once again, the word that has been flowing tonight has been being intentional. Intentionality is something that has been flowing, and you have to be intentional about this thing. So, Tab family, we love you with our whole hearts. Those that are coming in, you guys are already family. That's why we say Tab family, because those that are like, oh, I'm not a member, you family. So come on and join us. Come on and join us. Y'all got anything left before we jump off tonight?
We just hope to hear you on the 6 a.m. prayer call in the morning.
And wish you all the best on your 40-day fast. And God's going to show up. And I said this today, and I'll say it forever, for the last 40 days. Wait till the 41st day.
Amen.
We love you guys. Take care.